Hello, welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. My name is Danny De Lillo. We're here at Emerson, Los Angeles, and I'm delighted to be joined with Shirley with her movie Kite. Let's take a look at the clip.
The photo preserves and embalms the past and presents it in such a way that it appears in the present. What is a person's connection with the time past in memory? What is the shape, the smell, and the sound of that past when it is remembered in the present?
Shirley, I love your film so much, but people in our audience may not have seen it, so just tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
Thank you so much, Danny. First of all, just want to say thank you for inviting me here.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to show my film at the film festival in May for the Asian cinema program.
Yeah.
So my film Kite is a short documentary that follows the journey of 4 Chinese women across different generations. The 3 young Chinese women, Patrice, Viola, and Uni, all of them my very close friend who I met at USC, they allude to the intersection between mental health and one's experience as one of the member of the diaspora of Chinese youth. And then the other character, who is actually my grandmother, she speaks about the Great Chinese Famine and the Cultural Revolution about 60 years ago in China. And her story and narration kind of foreshadows the continuation of this collective cultural memory about the past in China that is still affecting these 3 young women's experience right now. It's affecting their mental health. So Kite explores the relationship between time and memory and the shifting definition of health, feminine embodiment, and also the question of labels. This is a film that is an illustration of the weight of time and responsibility. It's also a testament of the never-ending nostalgia and regret. But at the same time, it's also a hopeful portrayal of the resilience that these women are carrying on. So in a way that we're witnessing these 4 women from different generations, how they respond to the pain, whether it's personal or collective, their trauma from the past. But we're also recognizing the resilience that they're carrying on when facing overwhelming bodily and social constraints.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and that's such a great exploration of why you made the film and why the film is so important. Firstly, I want to say a big thank you to your grandmother. She is so special, and honestly, people have fallen in love with her for what she portrayed in your film, and thank you to your close friends as well that partook in it. For you personally, of course, this is very personal when it's people that you know and love, and you're talking about something it's very, very important that needs more attention. I'm just so curious, like, where did the inspiration for you come in deciding to share this story?
First of all, I'm wearing my grandmother's shirt today. I think it's a very special occasion. I really want to it's an honor from her that I got to make this film, and she's really a really essential part of the film. That her story, if without her story, this film will become incomplete. Kite will always be a very special film to me, and I think it witnesses my own journey, trying to search for identity, searching for my own identity, because I was struggling in feeling like an in-betweener between 2 cultures, 2 places, and 2 time, because I made the film when I was in graduate school, coming here, staying in America, so far away from home. So, but I started this film after a casual conversation with one of my participants, Uni, in late January 2019, and with a sudden realization that I could actually relate a lot of my own personal experience with emotional illness. Like, I would have sometimes having emotional disturbance or just feeling sad out of nowhere. I could relate these interesting experience with those of a mental health patient. So that was my intention to start the film, was really trying to normalize the concept of sickness or the concept of mental illness. So my intention was really to try to normalize the concept of mental illness at the beginning. And I think one of the things that is shown in my film was that there's a denial of clinical mental disorder in Chinese folk culture. And one of my participants, Patrice, she was saying in the film that in China, it's either that you are schizophrenic crazy or you don't have a problem. You just don't know how to deal with yourself. You're not strong enough, or you lack a certain self-determination. So my intention was really trying to clarify that and kind of rethink about the concept of sickness. And the film was produced at the Center of Visual Anthropology at the University of Southern California. So as a visual anthropologist, I started making this film with some field work and research. And during my research, I came across this quote by Dr. Nancy Shepherd-Hugh and Dr. Margaret Locke. And I have the quote today here. I really want to read it.
Please.
So it says, "Sickness is not just an isolated event, nor an unfortunate brush with nature. It is a form of communication, the language of the organs, through which nature, society, and culture speak simultaneously. The individual body should be seen as the most immediate, the proximate terrain where social truths and social contradictions are played out, as well as a locus of personal and social resistance, creativity, and struggle." So, yeah, my intention was really to explore the social and cultural influences on these young women's mental health in a way that their sickness are embodied and are inevitably intertwined with the social and historical background that are still influencing their current mental state right now. And sorry, let me go
No,
back to
please, this is great. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
I love it.
Let me go back to my last sentence.
Of course.
Okay. So my intention is to explore the social and cultural influences on these young women's mental health, and their sickness are embodied and are inevitably intertwined with the social and historical ambience that they are either aware or unaware of. So what I would suggest is that each individual is the product of the culture that she situates herself in. And I would further argue that the individual body is shaped by that culture. So rather than an object to be studied in relation to culture, the individual body is actually a subject that is being shaped in that culture, is actually reflecting back to the culture.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So
I'm so glad that you're a filmmaker. Like, it's such a blessing to have you as a filmmaker and just enhance this industry and perspective and understanding and education. Like, this is really, you're remarkable. I'm just saying, like, thank you so much. And this is so great to explore this subject. And it leads me to say, you know, obviously when you're making a documentary and you've got your subjects, it's a little bit different when these people are very, very close to home to you, you know, people you really care about. And I'm just curious about your process as a director and kind of making this project. Like, what is kind of your process in working with your subjects? Because of course, they've got the element of trust with you because you're working with them and understanding, but how do you go about kind of, you know, encountering the kind of context of what you want to display in this story?
that was a really good question. I think it's very difficult to deal with the subject of mental illness.
Yeah.
Like, when I first started making this film, that has always been a struggle, just in terms of how to open my participants up, in terms of feeling comfortable to share their stories with me. As I mentioned before, I am close to all of them, which is, I feel very grateful that I did have a relationship with them before I started making this film. So I do want to say that I had a easy start to just get into the story, but it was still difficult to try to have a conversation and to have a mutual understanding in terms of what this documentary is going to be about and what this documentary is going to do in terms of influencing their life or outside of their life, like in terms of like the audiences who are going to see these films, like how they're going to be influenced by that.
Yeah.
So I think it's really by time that we build up this trust more and more throughout me listening behind the camera, listening closely to them without projecting any, without projecting my own anticipation, expectation on what they're going to say, but really to listen close by, or a term that I always use in my academic work is speak nearby.
Yeah.
Which is to not impose, which is not to force a story out of my participant, but actually to embrace their story, to listen to them, and to have them lead the story to where it should go.
Oh, I love it. This is amazing. speaking of audience, you know, obviously there's this is a very personal and a very important subject that I think obviously exists in China, but is a reflection on many communities across the world as well. I'm just curious, in the kind of result of making your film, like if you could kind of take a summary and take away what you'd like your audience to take from it, maybe back in China, but also around the world as well when you've been putting this out to film festivals.
Absolutely. So I think like if I'm going to describe what this film is actually about, it's about cultural sickness. It's really a comparison and a cross conversation between different cultures, as what you said. And I think, for example, just explaining cultural sickness a little bit, it's, for example, a mild symptom in one culture might be seen as nothing in another culture.
Mm-hmm.
As in my film, mental illness, depression is seen as just crazy in China.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different understanding of sickness, which I think my intention for my audience to take away from the film after they watch it is to understand that sickness is a socially constructed concept.
Yeah.
There's no definite definition of mental health or mental illness, but rather it's shaped by the social, cultural, historical background at that time, and
Mm-hmm.
it's constantly changing. And it's really relating to one's personal experience as well. Like you can't take that away from talking about someone's sickness.
Yeah.
So I hope that my audience will see that personal history and the collective memory of China's cultural past are closely intertwined and are still affecting these young women's mental health right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope my audience can also see that these young women are having a lot of bodily pain and like their trauma from the past, but they are actually carrying these hardships with grace and imagination.
Absolutely, and I want to commend everybody, you know, all your close friends and your grandma, because just because you can't see the mental illness doesn't mean it's not there. Mm-hmm. And I think that was perfectly displayed. And I think as well, you're such an advocate for a lot of, you know, young women that are going through this, and you know, and I think you're really raising some very important points that hopefully we'll get educated about as well. I could listen to your context all day. Like I really enjoy listening to you. It's honestly fantastic, and I think one thing you really prove as a filmmaker is doing the research, you'll get results. And you know, I love hearing the kind of the shape of how you created and made your film. What is next for you?
I'm very excited to share that part. I'm actually making my next short film about this pop-up taco shop in Highland Park, Los Angeles.
Why would you not want to watch that? I can't wait.
So this film follows the journey of a young entrepreneur. His name is Victor Villa, and he graduated from CSUN a few years ago, and now he started this taco shop called Villa's Tacos Los Angeles. They were just voted to be the best taco last month.
We're all gonna go.
In
We're all
LA.
gonna go.
It is the best taco. It's very different. It's like not the typical street taco that you would see. So yeah, this film is gonna like explore what is the story behind the tacos, and also the story of immigration, because they are Mexican immigrants, and also about the family, and then the family values around food and the culture around cooking and food.
Oh, I mean, listen, we're all going to be there. Bring the movie back, and let's bring the tacos too, okay? Let's please do that. No, listen, I love hearing from you, and I love your style of film and the efforts that you put into making and making a film as well. I just want us to leave because you've got so much great advice and so much wisdom. For filmmakers out there that are watching, do you have any kind of advice that you share that you go by when you're making and creating film?
I have some advice, particularly for documentary filmmaking, I think. I always think that documentary filmmaking is a really courageous genre, in a way that I think for scripted film, you have this planned script that you would have before you start filming, and you kind of know that how the story is going to unfold. But for documentary, it's really you're facing the unknown most of the time. Like even though we might have a question prepared before we go into an interview, but you have no idea what a person is going to answer. Like it's always unanticipated. So I think documentary filmmaking is really bring out the curiosity of the filmmaker and really highlights the unknown and the uncertainty of life itself. So, I mean, I guess I would encourage everyone to try making nonfiction, because it's really the resemblance of life itself. Like you're experiencing life at the same time when you're making film. You're doing what you're passionate about, but you're experiencing life and learning a lot of things. And one thing I always say about documentary filmmaking is it's like putting puzzles together. You're essentially picking out information, pieces of evidence about life, and then you're trying to create this cohesive narrative of existence in a way. And I think the essence of art making is always like searching for the meaning of existence. So I think for documentary filmmaker, we're always trying to create this mental map that functions in as much the same way as a geographical physical map. I think we're always creating this mental map that functions in the same way as a geographical physical map that is a guide to the terrain of life.
Oh,
So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. This has been such a pleasure to chat with you, honestly. Thank you so much. Thank you for Kite. We're all ready for your next film and to eat those tacos too. But thank you for your artistic vision with Kite, and thank you to your friends and especially your grandma. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Shelley, everybody. Thank you.